Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on accounting officers and auditors. My name is Shani Kelly, and I will be the facilitator of this program. I am working in the Corporate Education Unit of CIPC. We hope you will find today's presentation thought-provoking and that each of our participants gain new knowledge. Before we have a look at today's programs, I want to provide you with some information regarding the webinar, and there are two house rules that I want to request you to comply with. Today's webinar will be recorded, and as soon as the recording is available, it will be made available on the CIPC website under webinars and on the CIPC Facebook page. We have a question and answer session after the presentation. You are also welcome to post your questions on the chat functions of MS Teams during the presentations. If we do not get to your chat questions during the webinar, we will follow up with it afterwards. We post a link on the chat function for a short survey for feedbacks regarding this webinar. After the webinar, please complete the survey. The survey is vitally important, and your feedback is necessary for us to continue with these webinars. Very, very important. Please switch off your microphone in order to prevent background noises during the webinar. Should you ask a question during the question and answer session, you will be allowed to unmute yourself. But keep yourself muted and your cameras off during the webinar. Lastly, switch off your video camera on MS Teams. We find it that some cameras are on during the session. This draws attention to the person instead of focusing on the presentation, and it also causes network problems. It also has the effect that some participants who uses more data during the webinars when the cameras are on. Okay, we're going to start with our program session. This is how our programs are going to be. We're going to have our welcome, which I just will do with you in a few minutes. Then our accounting officers and auditors, Mr. Vuyani Nkola, and who's the Senior Manager of Directors, Members and Practitioners, Veronica van Dijk, who's a Specialist Advisor in Business Rescue and Finance Assurance Practitioners. Thereafter, we'll have our question and answer session as well as the closure. Now, the introduction. The webinar introduction, CIPC's offerings to enable sustainable businesses. CIPC was brought into existence by the Companies Act of 2008 in terms of Section 1.85, subsection 1 of the Companies Act. The Commission is established as a juristic person to the function as an organ of the state within the public administration, but as an institute outside the public service. We have the CIPC and two subsections under it, the businesses, corporate regulations, intellectual properties, innovation and creativity. Now the business regulations, we have the companies, cooperatives and CCs. In the intellectual property section, we have innovation and creativity. We have the divisions under that is the patents, designs, trademarks and copyright. CIPC's objectives: registration of companies, cooperatives and intellectual properties rights and the maintenance of thereof, disclosure of information on its registers, enforcement of the relevant legislation, promotion of education and awareness of companies and IP law, licensing of business rescue practitioners, monitoring compliance with and contravention of financial reporting standards and making recommendations thereto. Reports, research, and advise the Minister on matters of national policy relating to company and IP law. The services offered by CIPC in order to reduce administrative compliance burden, corporate law reforms and IP law amendments, maintaining a reputable business and IP environment, 24/7 CIPC services through modernization of our processes through automation. Please switch off your mics. Increased access channels. Channels are SSC, self-service centers, our partner sites, e-services website, bus portal, mobile app, USSD, social media, call center, and the banks. Compliance, monitoring, and enforcement. Annual financial statements and annual returns filing, simplified through automation. Focused education and awareness. Trademarks, accession to moderate, cost-effective international filings. Reduced new applications and renewal fees available to SMEs when IP fees adjustments takes effect. Patents, Inventor Assistance Program. You can find that on the Trademarks Patents website address. The IP Trade Portal, the TISCs, Technology and Innovation Support Centers, IP SMMEs Toolkit. Okay, I hope that was informative, although brief, but a summary of what we actually offer at CIPC. Now I'm going to take you through to the presentation.
We are going to proceed with the presentation. Thank you so much for your indulgence and apologies for the technical challenges that we had. I hope that we'll be able then to proceed without any hiccups. So the mandate of CIPC as enshrined in the Companies Act is found in section 186, and it has to do then with the effective and efficient registration of companies, external companies, and other juristic persons, and the intellectual property rights, as it was earlier mentioned. And therefore, we have a responsibility to ensure that we keep an up-to-date and accurate registers of all these juristic persons, companies, and foreign companies, as well as the intellectual properties. And in doing that, also our functions are stipulated in section 187, and particular focus is that then the commissioner has to establish and maintain a register in a prescribed manner and form, and also receive then the applications, and those applications will then be deposited in the registry in terms of the Act, and make the information of those registers available to the public and to the organs of states. And in doing so, we do everything within the CIPC as we are a creature of statute in terms of legislation. So our legislative framework for the close corporations, it is Close Corporations Act number 69 of 1984 as amended. And the specific focus will be then on sections 56 and 62. And in doing that, when we look in terms of the appointment of accounting officers, these will be the people that will be appointed for close corporations. Therefore, no accounting officer is appointed for a company, and if then the company wants to appoint an independent reviewer, then that the company can do so, and we'll deal with that later when we deal with auditors. So people that can be appointed as accounting officers are only members of the recognized profession, and also a firm in terms of the Public Accountants and Auditors Act. And we have a list of recognized professional bodies, and that is found on our website, and the link will be shared as the presentation will be shared later on. So you'll be able to click on that link and see professional bodies that are recognized to serve as accounting officers bodies. We also have then the Companies Act that also deals with the companies, and the specific focus will be then on sections 84 to 94, which must be read together with the regulations 40. And every company now that is contemplated in terms of subsection 1A or B, it has to then appoint a person to serve as an auditor as stipulated in Part C of the Companies Act. And any person that is disqualified in terms of section 69, subsection 8, to serve as a director may not be appointed or continue to serve as an auditor. And therefore the board, if it fails to make an appointment for those companies that it is compulsory for them to have auditors, then the commission may issue a notice in that regard, so that then there is a meeting that is convened for the appointment of the auditor. And also the companies are expected then to do rotation after 5 consecutive financial years, so that you do not have one auditor. And this is aimed at ensuring that there is proper governance, and then also there is we ensure that people, they do their work without any influence, and they are able to perform their functions as required. And we also have audit committee members, and these audit committee members, they are coming from the board. So these are people that are the directors of the company. However, as the Companies Act requires audit committees, but there are no provisions in the Act that requires that these board members, upon being appointed, then they must submit with the commission. So there is no form for that. The only form that we're having, it is the form for auditors as well as company secretary. In terms of the processes moving forward, then my colleague Veronica will take you through the process in terms of the documents required, how you submit, etc., etc. Veronica, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kortschlag. Welcome, everybody. Okay, the accounting officers, the processes thereof. Can I just have the next slide, please? Every closed corporation shall appoint an accounting officer in accordance with the provisions of the Act. When a vacancy occurs by a removal or a resignation or any other way, the corporation must, within 28 days, appoint another accounting officer. The accounting officer must inform every member in writing of his or her removal or resignation from the office, and this copy needs to be sent to the last known address of the registered office, and also the registrar needs to be informed by a registered post. Next slide, please. Lisbon, can you just move to the next slide, please?
I've done that. There's a delay.
Okay, thank you.
So open yours and continue. They will be able to see later on.
Okay.
Veronica?
Sorry, I just want to open my slide on my side.
Okay, yes, just open yours. There's a delay apparently.
Okay. So I will be going through the presentation. So I've opened it on my side, so I might be faster than your side. So just bear with us. Okay, the next slide is the process of the appointment of the accounting officer, the CK2A form. To appoint an accounting officer, we require a CK2A form, including the customer code, and it must be signed. It must, all the members of the active members of the CK2A must sign in the space provided, and the consent letter of the accounting officer must be attached, and it must not be older than 3 months. If there's changes in the postal or the registered office address, one member or only the accounting officer can sign the CK2A. When the name of the accounting officer changes and the word incorporated reflects in that, it's been seen as a new accounting officer, and then all the members must sign the CK2A, and as well as the accounting officer, and the consent letter must be attached to it. Certified ID copies dated not older than 3 months of all active members and the accounting officer must be submitted to the email as provided below, manual ck2@cipc.co.za. Okay, this is the CK2A application form. You can also download this form from your website. It's straightforward and it gives you clear details on how to complete the application form. We've just included it in the presentation. Okay, when you resign as an accounting officer, there's no specific form for this. So you don't complete a CK2A to resign the accounting officer. The resignation will be on the company's letterhead of the accounting officer, reflecting its customer code. The date of the resignation must be on the form, the name and the number of the closed corporation as well. The profession and the practice number must reflect on the letter, and it must be signed by the accounting officer and submitted with a certified ID copy of the accounting officer who resigns, not older than 3 months, to the manual ck2@cipc.co.za email address as well. So if you only resign as an accounting officer, it's only a letter that you will submit to CIPC for processing. Okay, the duties of the accounting officer is stipulated in section 61(1)to(4). So within 3 months after completion of annual financial statements, determine if an agreement with the accounting records, review appropriateness of accounting policies, report in respect of accounting records to the corporation. If there's any contraventions, he or she shall describe the nature in his or her report. If he or she is a member of or employee, or is a firm of which a partner or employee is a member or employee of the corporation, his report shall state that fact. If he become aware that the corporation is not carrying on a business or is not
Can you hear me, colleagues?
Yes, Kuyani.
All right. It seems as if we have lost Veronica, but I will continue for the sake of time, because I know that we have booked for just an hour. I have just put the slide that shows the application form. So this is the form that is being used. It's the CK2A form, which is self-explanatory. This is the form that is used for the change of accounting officer. And if then I move to the next slide, the next slide was talking about the resignation of the accounting officer. And I think that Veronica stated that there is no form for resignation. It is just a letter that is sent to CIPC, and the email address is the one at the bottom, which is manual ck2@cipc.co.za. It is for both the CK2 form It is also for CK2A form. It is also for a letter that is sent for resignation. Now, the duties of accounting officers, I am mindful that most of the people that are part of this are accountants, so they are well versed in terms of what is expected from them, and these duties over and above what they expected in terms of their mandates, as well as what governs them. It is Section 62 of the Close Corporations Act, which then details what is reflected on the screen. I'm not going to read everything that is on the screen, but what is important is that if there are any contraventions, the accounting officer needs to then report that in terms of the nature of the contravention, so that that is followed up. Also, the members must sign, all of them, on that one. And then the notice 6 of 2018 was about the close corporations that do not have accounting officers. And it was then stated that it's a contravention for close corporations to continue without an accounting officer. And what we normally do then, we extract the information from the register, and all those close corporations without accounting officers, we inform them via registered mail using the last known address on our registers. So we need to follow those ones, so that your close corporations are not deregistered. And then the notice 12 of 2018, also it was about accounting officers also being able to see on the website the close corporations that they are involved in. So you just punch in your details, then you'll be able to see the number of close corporations that you're involved in. Now it's coming to auditors process, but before I can move, I just want to check. Veronica, are you there?
Hi, Mr. Professor. Yes, I'm back.
Okay, you can then proceed with the auditors process.
Thank you so much. Apology for the delay. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, this is the main conditions for the appointment of the auditors and company secretaries and audit committee members. So what is important, that the auditor must be registered with IRBA. CIPC is currently receiving, I think on a monthly basis, reports from IRBA which are uploaded on the CIPC systems. So there's no physical capturing of the auditors on the system. It's been selected from the list as received from IRBA. It must be acceptable to the company's audit committee as being independent of the company. If a company appoints a firm as an auditor, the individual determined as the designated auditor must satisfy the above requirements as well. Next slide, please. Okay, there are two processes that we currently are running. The one is the manual changes which are being sent to the COR 44 at CIPC.co.za mailbox. So it will be a duly completed form with the certified ID copy of the auditor, of the director, active director who signed the application form. And then the e-services, you can log in with your customer code and password and do the changes online. Only the auditor's resignation and appointments can be done online at this stage, and no forms are required for filing. Next slide, please. Okay, with regard to the manual appointment or resignation for an auditor or designated auditor, the companies must complete a duly signed Core 44, including the customer code on it, attach a certified ID copy of the applicant. An active director must be attached, and it must not be dated and older than 3 months. Appendix, meaning that a letter with the addresses of the auditor and designated auditor must be provided, as there's no space on the form physically to do that. We request that if it's a new auditor or designated auditor, that you attach then a letter specifying what the addresses should be. If there's no addresses, then the company registered and postal address will be used. Only the director or an authorized person via power of attorney have permission to sign this application form, and it needs to be sent to core44@cipc.co.za. Next slide, please. Okay, companies that want to appoint or resign an auditor, that is with the e-services, you log in with your customer code and password. We'll go to the transactions, auditors and accounting officers, auditor changes. No forms are required for this online function, and only resignations and appointments can be done at this stage. No address changes can be done. Next slide, please. This is the form, the Core 44, as everybody knows, is available on the website. We know that some of the clients have difficulty in understanding the form. So what I can just show you is that where it says the name and next to it office, the office is not where the company is situated or the auditor is situated. That will be to say if it's an auditor or if it's a designated auditor or a company secretary. So the office is not your address. Next slide, please. This is just the explanatory notes relating to the application form. Set out clearly what's needed and how to complete the form if you do not know. The next slide, please. The important notices, Practice Note 2 of 2014. This is the requirements for the appointing and the resignation of auditors and company secretaries. So we will be revising this in due course as well. And then also there's a notice to the customers dated 2015 regarding the rotation of auditors in terms of Section 92 of the Companies Act. Within 5 years, the auditor needs to rotate. You can't continue after 5 years to be the same auditor for the company. So it's a designated auditor that will be the rotation. The firm may may stay there. Mr. Mkofla can just elaborate more on that. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Veronica. That was very informative. I hope our audience has also learned a lot of things from your presentation. Okay, now it's our question and answer session.
I would like to know, given that one would file with the CIPC, I work with an auditing firm, and we would have voluntary auditors and even statutory audits. We will file the firm as the auditing firm, and a designated partner will be indicated as such on the CIPC platform. Is it possible for us to retrieve, given that this data is being inserted into the CIPC system, we would like to be able to retrieve a list of entities where our firm with the designated partners are served or appointed on the CIPC platform form as an auditor. There's a question, there's a reason why, because obviously we can control what we put in, but we don't have any control if other parties on the CIPC platform indicate or appoint our firm as the auditors, because we don't get notifications of those appointments. So a list would be super if we can have that.
Veronica, will you take that question, please?
Yes, thank you, Amelia, for the question. Okay, we have a data management unit. So if you require a list where your company, your audit firm reflects or you want a list where it reflects, you can request that information from our data management unit. There's a form on our website which you need to complete where they ask specific information that you will need to provide them. And then when you file this request to them, then they will provide you with the list that you want from. So it is not only with regard to the auditor. If there's something with your number, the practice number, they can also look it up for you with regard to that. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Okay, is there another question? Please raise your hand so I can ask you for the question. Wow, no more questions. That's amazing. Amelia, do you have another question? I see your hand is still raised.
Question. I've noted that on the manual process of filing of the 44, that one has to indicate the address of the auditor. But when you file the COR for the 44 online, it doesn't ask you for that. Why the inconsistency?
Veronica, will you take that question as well, please?
I will, Amelia. Thank you for the question. Okay, we are going to redesign the system in due course to improve the function online. At this stage, unfortunately, you can only do the resignation and the appointment, but we are looking into this to make it a better platform for our clients to use. So unfortunately, if it's only an address change that needs to be done, you will have to submit your application manually.
Yeah, just to add from what Veronica has said, you will appreciate that when there's an appointment of an auditor, the auditor is appointed by the company. So what we have done was to then sort of extend the request on the manual, but that form, it is not for the details of the auditor. That includes even the registration, the physical address of the auditor, because the auditor is appointed by the company. That's what it's not on the e-services electronic platform. So it is something that we look into, but it is something that we decided as a courtesy to say, because people are asking to have their addresses, let's allow them to put their addresses. But they are appointed by the company, they are auditors of the company. So the information that is required, it is for their name, surname, practice number, and the body that they are coming from.
Thank you, Vianney. I see there was another question, but I think it has been answered. Please raise your hand if you have any more questions. Okay. There's no more questions. Lucy, please. Lucy, give me your question, please.
Hi, so I'm asking a question with regards to SMEs. At what point is it statutory or required by the Companies Act for an SME to appoint an auditor, or is it not a requirement at all?
For a small company?
Yes.
Yeah, so you will appreciate that in terms of the statutory requirements, they are based on the public interest score of the company, and therefore if the company is small, that's when they will do the independent reviews. But if the company opts to in their MOI to do the audits, then they are then compelled to follow all the prescriptions of the Companies Act in terms of disclosure.
Okay, but I'm thinking in terms of where a company starts small and it grows as the years go. So at what point is it like a revenue, when it reaches a certain amount of revenue or employees, or where it becomes now it's a requirement that it must now audit it?
Yes, as it grows and the interest, the public interest score grows in terms of the number of employees, the turnover that the company has, then it changes. It moves from being small to probably a big company that is then required. Then it will have to comply.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Stienka, you can give me your question.
Sorry, yes, I maybe just wanted to assist Mrs. Sizwe in terms of the PI score. So the regulations set out that you have to use the 4 things: the number of employees, liabilities, turnover, and people who are shareholders. And if your PI score is above 100 and your financials are internally compiled, you would need to appoint an auditor.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much for that. Komotso, do you have a question? I see your hand is raised. Please unmute yourself so you'll be able to ask the question. Mrs. Sizwe, you can put down your hand unless you have another question.
Okay. Yes, I just wanted to get the clarity on the appointment of independent reviews, which are not provided for filing with CIPC. Where can a client, maybe if you want to appoint
where can a client? Komotso, are you still there?
Sorry, it's a very good question that she's raising. I think what she's trying to ask is, given that there's no filing obligation equivalent to the 44 in the case of an independent reviewer being appointed, where will a client be able to determine who is the duly appointed independent reviewer? Where can the public see that? I think that was the question.
Okay, so in terms of the independent reviewer, I'm not sure who is the client, but the company knows the person that is appointed as an independent reviewer. And secondly, when they submit the annual returns, that information is being asked in terms of who does then the financials or the independent review.
I hope that answered your question. Great. Ursula, I see you had a question. Do you still have anything that you need to ask?
Thank you. I just wanted to also help Busisiwe with where to find the calculator on how to get the public interest score.
That was very kind of you. Is there any other questions that you want me to ask? I have about 15 minutes left. Is there anything else? I see I have a lot of questions on my chat, but if there's anything that you want me to ask Vuyani or Veronica verbally, please raise your hand. Okay. I have an evaluation form on our chats, which I've posted the link. Alma Pinkham has posted the link. Can you please complete the survey evaluation for me? It is very important that this evaluation is completed. Are you all able to view my chat? My evaluation link?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Great. Please complete it for me. Is there anything else that you would like me to clarify, or anything else that you would like to ask regarding the directors? Wow, that is great. That's outstanding. Okay. I guess okay. Unita, you can ask.
Sorry, last question. I was just thinking back. We get a lot of comments on the closed corporations where people say, how do they report? And I know it says when your liabilities exceed assets, but for the moment, as I understand it, this is still a manual process. It actually has to be sent by registered post, I think Veronica said. So there's no email or anything for that at the moment. Sorry, it's a question. Is there or not?
Can you repeat that question?
Vuyani, if I want to report the closed corporation, the accounting officer wants to report that liabilities exceed assets, or there's something wrong. That's still, I think the Act still says you have to report via post. There's no shortcut for that.
All right. What we'll do, we will check with Mr. Mateja that deals with compliance and find out if they have an email address. And if there is one, then we will send it to all the members that were part of this as a follow-up. Is that fine?
Thank you, Vuyani. Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Great, good question. See, we got our shot at already. Okay. As I told you all, please complete the survey question. We are still busy answering the chat questions. Is there anything else, or can I close the session? Unita, your hand is still raised.
Sorry.
Do you have something else? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Ursula, Cleo, is there anything else that you'll need to ask? Okay.
No, thank you.
I'm going to close the question. I will keep my chat still open. If those that are shy to ask me verbally, I will answer you all on the chat. Is that okay? But I'm going to close the session for now. Thank you very much for your participation. I really appreciate it. And once again, please remember to do my survey. Thank you all. Bye.